Can you see the screen now?
Yes, Doctor, I see them.
Okay, good. All right. So my main concerns, I have highlighted them in yellow. This is language concern. You need to look at the sentence structure and the language. And then for every sentence, I want a reference. Where did you get these ideas from? So incorporate reference for every idea.
Okay.
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 And then the highlighted phrases means the language mistakes. You need to improve on it. So then I want references for every statement, the key statement that you have made. This word should be the readers, not read the readership. The readership means something else. The readers means specific individuals. So remove the readership, change it to readers. So you want references for all of these. Okay. So that's it. Basically for chapter 2, the literature review that you have prepared. You want to incorporate as many references as possible to show that where you get these statements or these ideas from are not your own research, are not your own original ideas, but are ideas taken from research done by others on Ayat Akhtar's narratives. And that incorporates his plays, his novels, fiction and non-fiction, his memoirs and such. Now, the way you present the literature review is also something else that we need to take into consideration. You want to begin, you can choose. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Doctor, I hear you well.
Okay. I anytime you can't hear me, just tell me about it. Okay.
I will send you a message if I can.
Okay. So one thing to one way to look at it in terms of your literature review. I like to think visually. I'm a visual. I like to see things in a visual manner that helps me understand my ideas better.
Yeah,
So one way to visualize your literature review is by saying this big circle is Pakistani American literature. So that's the big picture. Can you see what I'm doing? Can you see what I'm sharing right now?
Yes, Doctor. Yes, I see.
Yeah. So the big circle is the Pakistani American literature, and the one component is Ayat Akhtar. Ayat Akhtar's narrative is one aspect of Pakistani American literature. There are other such writers and such literatures. Okay, so when we say Pakistani American literature, what we mean by this is writings by Pakistani American. It can be, you can talk about the writer, you can talk about the text, but in this particular instance, we are talking about the literature. Okay?
Yes.
So you can talk about it as the genre of literature. You can talk about it as fiction, non-fiction. Under fiction, you can talk about poetry, short stories, novels, plays. So if you choose to start your chapter 2 by looking at Pakistani American literature, some of the issues that you will include in this would be the genre. What are the different writings by Pakistani American writers?
Mm-hmm.
Just a second. Okay. So the genre, plays, novels, poetry, fiction, non-fiction, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Memoirs, and such. So um, this is one aspect of Pakistani American literature. Another aspect is the writers. Who are they? Um, are they, first generation, second generation, and so
Yeah.
on. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the themes and issues that they talk about, because you are reviewing on Pakistani American
Yeah.
literature. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this section on the writers, you will mention all the other writers, and
Mm-hmm.
then you will focus on you will introduce all the writers, the first generation, the second generation, and their novels. Okay. Then you will
Yes.
focus on Ayat Akhtar. All right. So when
All
you
right.
talk about the writers, you are also talking about the issues and concerns. So they are together. You cannot just talk
Mhm.
about the writers without talking about what they write about. So the writers and
Of
what they
course.
write about. What they write about will fall under the category of themes and issues. And
Yeah.
even themes and issues, you have pre 9/11 and
Mm-hmm.
post 9/11 writings.
Mm-hmm.
Pre 9/11 might be talking about sense of belonging, homeland, adopted land, sense of displacement, um, uh, you know, the the importance of finding belonging, the importance of hanging on to your culture, even as a migrant, all these things pre 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
You might find that post 9/11, the writing may show a more religious connection. Pre 9/11
Mm-hmm.
might show a more cultural, a leaning towards cultural identity, being part of the Pakistani community. Maybe post 9/11, it's more about being a Muslim or being a member of the circular community. So you may see in your review that there is a kind of pattern. The pre 9/11 and post 9/11 writings by the Pakistani American writers, you may see a kind of pattern emerging. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this is the big picture. Okay, this is the big picture
Yes.
on Pakistani American literature. So this will be section 2.2. Sorry, 2. Yeah lah, 2.2. 2.1 will be introduction. Just a short paragraph introducing your chapter. Then 2.2 will be on Pakistani American literature. And within that, you are also bringing
Mm-hmm.
in aspects of research done, yeah, past research done. So this includes past research on the corpus. So that's why here I kept saying, yeah. So when you're saying, themes of Pakistani American, Hanif Qureshi is not Pakistani American. He's Pakistani British.
Uh-huh.
He is a diasporic Pakistani writer, but he is
Yeah.
not Pakistani American. So that is wrong.
Uh-huh.
You need to kind of review your corpus accurately. So that's why I say when you focus only on Pakistani American literature, you need to be able to identify the writers. Who are they? What are their concerns? What are their the themes and themes, concerns, and issues of their narratives? You know,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then you may want to introduce one particular writer, which will be Ayat Akhtar. So
Good.
you may have section 2.3 focusing on Ayat Akhtar and his and past studies on his narratives. You could have that, meaning you do the big picture, and then based on the big picture you identify one component,
Mm-hmm.
like that. So you go from the big to the small. Okay.
Yeah.
So here, you the way you have presented it right now, you're talking about key issues. You're talking about the small. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ayat Akhtar, small, small, small. Then suddenly you go to the big. Okay. Then you come back to Ayat Akhtar. Okay.
Yes.
So it's best if you decide to go big, because you're not going to come back to the big anymore. You're going to just talk about the big as an introduction, the big picture, the main corpus. Then you narrow it down. And when you narrow it down, you get to bring in the themes and concerns here that you have identified. You get to bring it in. You get to bring it in and debate about it, whether Ayat Akhtar also shares the same themes, concerns, and issues of the Pakistani American writers, or whether his writing, that's why I put him in the margin here, close to the margin. I didn't put him in the circle. I put him in the margin. He's not outside the Pakistani American corpus, but he is not completely inside either. If you
Mm-hmm.
find that his writing reflects the Pakistani American literature, then this circle should be inside. That means he is included in that corpus called Pakistani American literature. But based on what you are suggesting, it feels like he is challenging the Pakistani American worldview, or the Pakistani American representation of Muslim identity in America. He seems to be challenging it. I don't know. This is something you have to research on. This is just my suggestion.
Uh-huh.
So this is just my suggestion of the visualization of how you see chapter 2. So there will be two key sections. The first section is on the big picture, and that big picture can be Pakistani American literature. This is just my suggestion. The
Yeah.
second section would be on one particular writer from that canon, which is Ayat Akhtar,
Mm-hmm.
and you can bring in these, talking about his issues. You may talk about specific stories or plays, and you may look at his contribution. You know, so my suggestion is,
Yeah.
okay, my suggestion is slide 5, 6, and 7. You bring it to the front like this. You start by looking at the big picture, okay? Not just the authors,
Yeah.
not just Pakistani American authors, but beyond that, you're talking about Pakistani American literature. What is the canon of Pakistani American literature? Does it comprise of? What is it made up of? Who are the writers? What are their issues? How long have they been publishing? When was the first Pakistani American work of fiction published? Stuff like that. So it's very, very much like a review on this particular canon called Pakistani American literature. So that would
Mm-hmm.
be, so my suggestion is change it to literature, not authors.
But
Okay? then you get
okay.
to then you get to bring in various things. You get to bring in the themes. You can bring in also the achievements. You can bring in how much, who are the writers, whether they have won awards, and even Mohsin Hamid. I don't know whether I would consider him Pakistani American. You have to check again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you have to
All
make
right.
sure you get these names right. That's why I say I want references. Where did you get, what's your source for these statements that you
Mm-hmm.
are making? The reference is super crucial. So you begin by
Uh-huh.
looking at that. Okay. So
Okay.
themes of themes in themes in Pakistani American narratives. Um, so this slide is not about themes. This slide will be Pakistani American authors. Okay, so you start by introducing Pakistani American authors, and then you bring in the literature and the narratives, and what are their concerns, and what are the main issues and themes that they seem to incorporate. Then you bring in Ayat Akhtar.
Yes.
Akha Akhtar. Okay. So then you bring in Ayat Akhtar and his narratives. Um, um, you know, you may look at Ayat Akhtar and his narratives and identify key issues. That's fine. Meaning, maybe based on previous studies, maybe scholars have identified 5 key themes emerging out of Ayat Akhtar's narrative. All his writings put together, these are the main themes. So, what are the themes?
Mm-hmm.
You may talk about themes, you may talk about patterns, You either talk about themes, concerns, or narratives, issues, patterns. One such patterns may be he likes to represent Muslim men in this way. He likes to represent relationship between Muslims in this way. He likes to look at relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims, and he tries to show them in a very confrontational manner, something like that. Whatever scholars, yeah, these are all based on past research, nothing original, nothing new. Don't bring in anything new in this chapter.
All right.
Then, so based on all that, then you identify the gap.
Uh-huh.
What is the gap in previous studies on ayat akta?
Yeah, doctor.
So that is what your research will cover. Does that make sense?
Yeah, doctor. Okay, that's all clear for me.
Okay.
Yeah, doctor. Okay, I will work on all these things, inshallah.
Okay. I think to simplify the supervision because of your connection and sometimes the internet can be problematic. Let's do it this way. So if you've got something you want to share with me, if you can share it with me at least early, maybe a day before, and if I have time, I will go through it, quickly make certain comments so that when we meet, it will be more impactful. It's like we can meet for a good 20 minutes. I give you my feedback. You've got any questions, you can ask me. That way, it becomes more meaningful and all these technical glitches can be solved, inshallah. Okay? Do you have any questions?
Doctor, I just lost the last statement, the last phrase that you mentioned. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I hear you well, but I've
Hello,
got it
doctor?
recorded. So inshallah, I hope you can hear the recording.
Hello?
Can? Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop recording
Good,
now
good.
and I will
Good,
share
doctor.
it with you.
So you
inshallah.
mentioned that it's okay. Okay, doctor. All right.
Yes, I think it's okay. You can proceed, but I want the literature review strengthened. Given this new structure, I've given you a new structure, how to present the literature review. Now I want you to expand on it with more references. You can start to even write the sections out if you feel comfortable. But it has to be your own
Doctor,
words.
Yeah. Doctor, just suggestion. It's okay with you, for example, if I send you, for example, some slides, some Word file, and to let us check our progress, if I am on the right track, for example, if I need
Yes,
to
can.
correct some things, okay?
Can?
And so on. Yeah, yeah. Whether it will be in our meeting class or in another time, so it will be okay with you?
Yes, it will be okay with me.
Okay, Victor. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I would prefer to meet on a Thursday, if possible. Thursday afternoon, if possible. The next time we
Okay,
meet, if
Victor.
you want to meet me, let's do it on a Thursday afternoon, if possible.
It's okay with me. It's possible with me, Victor.
Okay.
Every time will be possible with me, Victor.
Inshallah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start recording. I will share with you the recording. If you've got any questions, you just message me. Can you hear me, Ali? Hello?
Hello, Doctor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now.
All right. Okay. So I will stop recording now. I'm going to share the recording with you. If you have questions, you
Okay.
message me.